Oh, come on.
I know it's always, or I hope it's always.
Joker's face.
Every day I search in spite of me.
And it'll do it on him and me. And you're like,
Every day I search for what I cannot
Nobody was on your lap and it didn't take millions.
Every day I search for you. Every day I search for the truth. Just can't help falling in love with you. More with everything you do. Speak and the mountains tremble with fear. And at the sound of your voice, I know you are near, be near to me. Every day I long deep inside of me. Every day I long for what's plain to see. Every day I long to be with you. Every day I long for the truth. Just can't help falling in love with you. More with everything you do. Speak and the mountains tremble with fear. And at the sound of your voice, know you are near, be near to me. And the rain falls like tears, and most days I cry, but in facing my fears, the truth I won't deny. Just can't help falling in love with you.
used to do in season 1?
Part 2. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just a black screen.
When you say
There's a
hello,
very
working on
blank
everything
screen
else?
up there.
this is a great face to go with you.
Oh, that's still counting down.
Hello.
Oh, it's working on Facebook. Oh, it's a great face. Hello and welcome. Just like that.
I'm restarting Twitch. I'm restarting my phone to be on Twitch because
Restarting Twitch. Just
sometimes they have to.
So the Twitch bastards having technical difficulties.
My phone earlier said your phone's been on for this amount of time. We recommend to restart it, and I was like,
Whatever.
You know what my phone does? Every time I get in the car, it suggests, you know, what it thinks, where it thinks you're going, and pull up a map for it. It keeps telling me Whataburger.
Every time she gets in the car, her phone's
Every
like,
time.
here's directions to Whataburger.
I've been to Whataburger once in the last 3 months.
oh, okay. I mean, that'd be pretty accurate for my phone. It'd be like, yeah, I probably need it.
No.
Breakfast burger, man. The burger
gross.
with the bun and the egg and then the 3 hash browns
Yeah,
it's
not
and the
bad,
peppercorn
but-
sauce.
Good.
Oh, so good. Only serve it from 11 to 11 though.
11 to 11.
Are they still serving it?
I don't know.
Didn't
I
you
haven't
say
been
it
there.
was
It's limited time.
Did you see nacho fries are back?
Nacho fries are amazing.
All right.
They really just taste like regular seasoned fries.
You're a regular
But you dip
seasoned
them in
fry.
cheese.
They are. They're just Cajun seasoned fries that you dip in nacho
They're
cheese.
amazing.
Okay.
I like them.
What are?
They're slightly sweet.
Taco
too.
Bell's
nacho
nacho fries.
They're slightly sweet too.
Just Cajun seasoned
I like
fries that you dip in nacho cheese.
I love them.
Cajun
They have
seasoned
the slight
fries.
taste.
No, you have weird taste buds.
You can choose between Bot, House, or Carrion.
No.
You dip them in the nacho cheese, and then you eat them.
I'm about to go check on my computer to see if it's my phone or if it's
Bot flies are
Twitch.
smallest.
What kind of fly
Bot
was it
flies?
from the
Aren't they the
movie?
smallest?
Are the giantest of all of those options.
Aren't they a worm?
Yeah.
That's in your skin?
Everything's a worm until it turns
You're
into a
right.
fly.
You're right.
They're all worms until it turns into a
The
fly.
only bot fly I can see in my head is worms and skin. But I don't know how big they actually get.
Shouldn't have had that last cookie.
Shouldn't have.
Welcome to the Science House, where we're going to talk about bot flies.
I'm gonna go on my computer. I'll be right back.
Okay. Church is having technical difficulties. And there's that movie, The Fly, and The Fly 2, and The Fly 3.
Really?
Fly
I knew there
I'm
was
pretty
a
sure they
second
made 2.
one.
See,
I
I'm
didn't
pretty sure
know
they made
there
a
was
3.
third.
Yeah, by that
Why
point
would they
people are
try
like,
to go that far?
Hey man, they made a Tremors 10.
Yeah, there's a lot
15,
of them.
isn't there?
Aren't they remaking them now?
I think so.
Mhm.
But you know
Because
what?
I
when they
thought I
first
saw a
came out-
preview and I was like, wait, that's old Kevin Bacon.
When they
not
were
young Kevin
when they were
Bacon.
coming out though, no, they were the jam. Like we sat down
I know.
every night and watched those.
The last one that legitimately came out, like in the series of them, had Jamie Kennedy in it. And it was like, wow, scraping the bottom of the barrel for acting.
I don't know who that
That's
is.
Malibu's Most Wanted, right? Jimmy Kennedy.
I don't know what Malibu's Most Wanted is.
Do you know what that is?
I mean, yeah, but I never watched it.
Did you ever watch what's it called with the sharks?
Sharknado?
Sharknado.
No.
That was
No.
fun.
Unfortunately, I've seen Sharknado. But I didn't watch any of the sequels.
I watched it and it was fun. I
Because
enjoyed it.
what would be the point? Once you've seen a shark come out of a tornado, you've pretty much
I think the one that I watched was Sharknado 2. I think, 'cause it
seen
came
the
on
whole
TV and I was
movie
like,
at
I'm
that
gonna watch
point.
this.
A shark came
Saw
out
the
of a
preview
tornado!
and I was like,
Exactly.
okay, I've seen all I
We're
need
gonna
to see,
draw
I'm
that
done.
out. There's this whole drama between his ex-wife and ex-husband,
Oh,
and
jeez.
having to survive together because they've got kids, and her being in love with someone else, and him being in love with someone else, and her losing an arm, and him going into the shark with a chainsaw, and
Yep.
Have you seen Mask?
Yes.
I've seen
Mask
the
2?
Mask. I've
Yes.
seen the Mask too.
That's Jimmy Kennedy.
Jim
right?
Carrey.
That's
Jim
Jim
No,
Carrey.
Mask 2.
Oh, that's Jamie Kennedy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mask 2 is Jamie Kennedy.
Maybe I haven't seen Mask.
That's when he has a baby.
I did see that.
Yeah.
But
And
in my
Mask 2
head,
is
that's
Jim
Jim Carrey
Carrey.
too.
No, it's
The
not.
baby
Was it?
has.
I mean, I
Does
watched
the
it
baby
when I
have
was a kid.
mask?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
No,
weird.
doesn't the baby get the mask?
Somehow.
He gets
It's
the
been
mask somehow.
years.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And Jim
Okay, so I
Kennedy
did
has
see
a
it.
mask. Character has a mask for a little bit. And
Twitch is It's not up for some reason. It's not.
Twitch is down.
Well,
It might jump up at some point.
We have 2 people on Facebook.
Like Twitch itself is down, or just our feed is down?
So there's a
I
network
watched
error,
the mask
so I don't know
with Nick.
which.
And then that's all we talked about for like 2 years.
But like,
The mask.
Well, that movie was smoking.
so like it says that we've been live for 10 minutes. It shows all my stuff, but if I try to actually watch the video portion, it says there's a network error.
Well, maybe there's audio over there. You said we got 2 people on Facebook. Have they identified themselves? Hello, Facebook people. We're glad you're here. Feel free to jump into the chat. We got
I'm bodyguard.
James here on the chat.
What?
I've been playing way too much time to Salem.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah! Stop. That's loud and obnoxious.
We got James here on chat for Facebook. We've got Tina on chat for Periscope if you're over there.
What?
Well, what? You got 99 updates on TikTok. Looks like something you made went viral.
No, I was just on TikTok a few minutes ago. No,
Never
it's the
fresh.
recommended 99 new videos to watch.
Uh-huh.
Just all of a sudden.
Oh, because you've been liking all those baby videos. People have been posting
like
mad baby
one.
videos.
All baby videos. My baby.
All right, so the last couple of weeks we've been talking about the heart. In the first week we talked about the heart, you know, evil and don't look, and because when you look you sin, and all that. And in this episode we talked more about the physical side of the heart. You know, it pumps the blood, and it's...
Yeah. I was like, let me see if it loads for me. We're listening. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're checking on the Twitch
Yeah.
stream? It's first organ to form in the womb. And, Proverbs 4:23 tells us to guard our heart above all else, for it is the source of life. And then we consider all this DNA stuff about, you know, DNA recording the experiences of your life and then passing that on to your kids. It's not only the source of your life, it's the source of, you know, the generations to come after you lives as well, right? So there's, I searched and searched and couldn't find this study that I remember hearing about and then reading about, where they took an fMRI machine, that's the one that tracks brain patterns, and they use that on the brain to map thought process. You know, they ask you questions, they map the thought process, what it triggers in the brain. They use it in diagnosing different seizure disorders and things like this. And they decided they would take this machine and they would point it at different parts of the body. And when they did, they were shocked to discover that the same results they get in the brain that we know to be active conscious thought were also originating from other parts of the body. The internal organs, the heart, the lungs, that conscious thought was coming out of these places as well and showing up on the machine, not just in the brain. And so it kind of put a disarray in all of the knowledge they thought they knew about, you know, where does thought come from and what is the seat of consciousness. And there was one study that I came across that was there was a bunch of people in a panel from cross-discipline studies, and they were talking about consciousness and what makes up, you know, conscious thought and who we are. And the closest they could all come to an agreement on was that conscious thought may exhibit in the brain and in the body and all of that, but there's some kind of something outside of the body or that isn't physically trackable that has to make up part of what the mind is. And if it doesn't, then there's no way that conscious thought can exist. And so some of them thought that it was, you know, experience. Your outside experiences makes up part of what your mind is. And when we interact, that makes up what part of the mind is. As Christians, we know about, you know, there's a spirit. And obviously we already have this answer. From a biblical perspective, we already have the answer of what is that X factor that makes up conscious thought. It's the spirit. You know, you are a spirit. You have a soul, which is your mind, will, and emotions. And you live in a body. And that's the biblical perspective on conscious thought, more or less. Can you grab my iPad out of the pocket there?
I went ahead and looked at Twitch for myself, and other people are able to stream.
Yeah.
It's just,
We're not able to stream.
yeah. Because we did the multi-platform.
That's rude.
Shouldn't. 'Cause I do it all the time.
I shut this down earlier. Stopped working on this earlier because I was at 10%, and I was like, I need that last 10% for when we go into the discussion because I have a website pulled up. Doodle-doodle-doo. Okay, so I talked about the study in the 80s in Vienna, Austria, where they interviewed people that had heart transplants and then kept track of their responses on whether or not they had noticed changes consistent with the preferences and opinions of the person they received the heart from. And 6% of people were just like, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely have cravings and opinions and perceptions that match the donor that I didn't have before. 15% were like, well, yeah, I changed. I almost died. Of course I changed. And then 79% were like, that's a stupid question. Why would you even ask that? I mean, that's ridiculous why you would even ask that. And showed clear markers of being in denial about not being able to accept that clearly they had noticed this change, but that they, we talked about the reticular activation system a few weeks back about how when your brain is convinced about something, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you can't fix stupid. You're not stupid, but you're the one that brought up you can't fix stupid that your grandpa used to say.
Wow, that's just mean.
I know, right? It's so mean. I'm calling James stupid. I mean, he is going into the Air Force, not the Navy, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I just pulled that off my cuff because I don't.
They're the smartest of the branches, pretty much.
Which one?
Air Force.
Air Force. Smart. Air Force. Smart.
They're not crown eaters. Cran, whatever. I said it wrong.
Okay, so according to the Internet Explorer meme, which branch of the military is the one eating paste? Is that Space
Marines.
Force? Marines. Marines is the paste eater.
Space Force are the ones on Alien Hunters. The guy with the crazy hair.
Ancient aliens?
Ancient aliens, thank you.
She won't let me watch Ancient Aliens when the kids are home.
Because they talk
so
about
entertaining.
true, and
It is, yeah.
my son would sit there
Right
and
now,
watch
Air
it
Force
as if
is
it's all
still
true,
in control of space.
But it's so interesting.
Watch that on your own time.
I don't have my own time. That's not a thing. Okay.
But it's okay to watch those mermaids are real ones because
In Florida.
Because you like it.
Don't disagree with that statement.
Yeah, don't argue with someone from Florida that mermaids are
you know,
real.
I saw one where it had footage of
I
something.
could have swore
that
she was
really
saying,
was
I know
like,
I saw a mermaid. I know I saw one. It's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they convinced me. That's
He's like, I saw
Yeah.
one. That.
I synced it.
I seen
it
it.
really did
Synced
convince
it
me
with
for a
my
little
true
while.
eyes.
It was fun.
Okay, so I talked about two stories where it's been documented that people had changes from a heart transplant. But I wanted to pull up the website that I got those two stories from and just go ahead and read you the stories directly from this website. There's more than two of them. But the two that I read, I told you I'm going to reread in their words. Because I restated it for the podcast in my words because I'm not a plagiarist. And so I didn't just copy it verbatim from the website.
But you're going to go ahead and do that now.
Well, no, I'm actually saying I'm reading it from the website. I've got it in front of me. This is not plagiarism.
What's the reference for this website?
It is list.com/2016//05.
Thank you.
And it might not hurt if you put an .html at the end there.
Okay.
But not necessary because I didn't have to
Now.
pull it up.
Repeat it back to them.
Well, it's on video. I mean, you can rewind and... Okay. First one is Claire Sylvia, which is one that I shared in the podcast. Okay. Not only did the heart and lung transplant that 47-year-old Claire Sylvia received save her life, but it also made her the first person in New England to undergo the process. She's also convinced that in addition to vital organs, she received some of her donor's tastes, as if his memories were locked into his heart and lungs, and consequently are now flowing in her body. She told a reporter that when she was asked what she wanted to do first after the operation, she said that she was dying for a beer right now. This was strange to Claire, as she had never enjoyed beer in the slightest before. Over the coming days, she also found that she was experiencing cravings for food that she'd never liked or even eaten before, such as green peppers, Snickers chocolate bars, and strangely, McDonald's chicken McNuggets, something which she'd never had a desire to eat. She also began to experience strange dreams. She would see a thin young man who she believed was called Tim. Specifically, she had the words Tim L. in her mind when she had the dreams. By searching through local obituaries of the days leading up to the day of her transplant, she came across Timothy Lemerand. I think it's Lemerand. Timothy Lemerand was 18 years old when he died in a motorcycle accident on the same day as Claire's transplant. He had been on his way home from a local McDonald's restaurant. A bag of chicken McNuggets was found in his jacket pocket when doctors removed his clothing in a
real quick, I'm going to point out
attempt to save his
how
life.
are you going to have a bag of chicken nuggets in your pocket? Is this like a baggie? Is this a bag?
Like he rolled up his leftovers and shoved it in there.
The tater tots from the movie.
Why
And
are
it's
you
a motorcycle
Cops for
jacket,
later.
so like he's just like
Motorcycle jacket has
yeah.
big pouches.
That too.
I guess.
How
I
did
just see him like, what did you put his nuggets in a baggie and shove them in his pocket? Like, who's doing
no,
that?
he's wearing his motorcycle jacket. And
I guess
it's there.
it makes more sense thinking
His
about
beating
it.
heart is keeping the nuggets warm until he died.
That's messed up.
She managed to track down Tim's family, his heart didn't die. It's now in Claire, whom she hadn't met before, and they confirmed to her that the cravings she was having were indeed all for foods that Tim had enjoyed very much, beer and all. She has remained in touch with Tim's family ever since. Jamie Sherman awakes from transplant feeling a rage and anger in Tucson, Arizona. Jamie Sherman had underwent several heart surgeries by the time she had a heart transplant at the age of 24. She'd suffered from a heart defect since birth. When she awoke following the successful procedure, she felt a deep sense of anger, so much so that she wanted to fight, although she didn't know why. She also began to have cravings for Mexican food, especially cheese enchiladas, something that she hadn't craved before. 6 months following the transplant, Jamie was able to meet the family of her donor, a 29-year-old man named Scott Phillips. She quickly mentioned her cravings and liking for Mexican foods, and she wasn't too surprised to hear that Scott's favorite food was Mexican, and he particularly liked cheese enchiladas. Probably with that enchilada sauce you guys were talking about from earlier that you can only get in Arizona.
Were they in Phoenix?
It was Tucson.
Tucson? Yeah,
Yeah.
they can get it in Tucson. The enchiladas there are just better than here.
When Jamie found out that Scott had died in a fight at a sports bar after being hit in the head and suffering major brain trauma, she felt that she now understood where her sudden feelings of anger came from. She theorized that he felt anger and rage in the seconds before he was hit and consequently died, and these feelings were locked in his heart when it was transplanted to her. Now this one's kind of weird and dark. In 2008, as if the other ones haven't been dark enough. In 2008, Sonny Graham, age 69, took his own life by shooting himself in the throat. He'd received a heart transplant in 1995. Aside from being tragic, his death was strange, since the person whose heart he'd been given, Tommy Cottle, killed himself in exactly the same way. Perhaps even stranger was that Sonny had even married Cottle's wife, Cheryl, in 2004 after they dated for several years. Sonny, who'd never displayed such dark tendencies before, met Cheryl after getting in touch with her several years after the transplant, wanting to express his sincere gratitude, right? The pair, who were almost 30 years apart in age, fell deeply in love soon after they agreed to meet. To most, they appeared happy, with friends describing Sonny as a good man and the sort of person who would gladly help someone he didn't even know. Sonny and Cheryl, not Sonny and Cher, Sonny and Cheryl, had even talked about their experiences at donor-recipient conventions and fundraisers. Yeah.
Sounds like
poor
she's
Cheryl.
shooting people in the throat.
Oh no.
Sorry. Couldn't help
This
that.
next one's from Atlanta, Georgia.
How many of these we want to read?
There's 10 of them.
Okay. Just wondered.
I mean, we've got an hour to fill, right?
I just wondered.
Not only did 17-year-old Amy Tippins develop
I'm gonna head out.
interesting? Yeah, I was just wondering, and now we're just messing with you. I'm sorry. We're sorry.
Jonathan started it.
You just kept the ball rolling.
Yep.
I don't think I heard that, but
Did you just shove a whole cookie in your mouth? James, look what you've done! Doesn't fit. He's eating his feelings.
So the one of the things I wanted to bring up in the beginning of your podcast when you were talking about the
You broke Pastor Bill.
in the beginning when you were talking about last podcast, something that stood out to me. You know, you mentioned the fight against the reticulum.
Uh-huh.
Well, the other thing is some.
What?
Mm.
What?
So much in there.
What did I say wrong?
Reticulum is an inch-long section of your anus. Reticular activation system.
Let's talk about the
So while these guys are fighting their own anus, it might just be they don't want to admit that it changed them. Not just they don't realize but they don't.
But that wasn't what we were talking about last time. That's from this episode.
I thought it was from last episode.
Yeah, that's this episode.
So they might just not want to admit
Yeah, they're in denial.
they're in denial. They're like, no, I don't actually crave that.
Right.
It might not just be their brain reactivate. It might be, their anus.
Not just be their anus.
No, sorry. The thing I marked off was about last time.
Okay. You marked it off.
I marked it off already
Why'd you mark it off?
because I thought I had said it, so I marked it off. So it's gone now.
But you didn't say it.
It's gone now. It got marked off. You obviously don't know how this book works. Once it's marked off,
It's right.
it's
Heather,
marked off.
You can read his handwriting, right?
Yeah, right.
You see?
You're probably just like yours, only
What are we
prettier.
needing?
What's that first sentence he wrote there?
You gonna die.
We're gonna die.
Eventually.
We're gonna die.
It looks like ether, not just thing. I can't always read his handwriting.
Not only did 17-year-old Amy Tippins develop a sudden craving and liking for hamburgers following her successful liver transplant, this time it's a liver, in 1993, but she also suddenly developed a deep sense of moral and civic duty and an appreciation for her community at large. That wasn't the strangest thing she noticed, however. She seemed to have new abilities as well. She noticed that she would wander into hardware stores without realizing what she was doing. Also, she had knowledge of a whole range of complex do-it-yourself skills and was physically able to carry them out. Amy had suffered from acute liver disease, which led to her requiring a new liver. She managed to arrange a meeting with the doctor's family and learned that the donor was a former U.S. Marshal named Mike James. His family stated that hamburgers were one of his favorite foods, but perhaps more importantly to Amy, they said that he loved to work with his hands and had undertaken several building projects at home before his death.
That one sounded like it was gonna end in a joke. I don't know why. I just.
His family also told her that his goal in life was always to help and protect other people. Amy believes that through the liver transplant, she has absorbed some of Mike's personality and sense of duty as well as some of his skills.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always the heart. The heart, it looks like the heart records the DNA, records the experiences in the DNA, and then the blood transfers that out to the other parts of your body.
Yeah, that's weird that it was a liver.
We got Facebook error.
Is that what?
Facebook error.
We have a Facebooker?
Error. Yeah.
Are they making a comment? Oh, an error.
Error.
Ah, I gotcha.
Error.
I heard It's that Tennessee.
I think it might be
What we're streaming on?
Restream acting up.
Yeah,
Okay.
it says error loading.
Yeah, it's the same thing Mom was saying. So Restream might be having some issues, and that's okay. That happens.
Next one, Cheryl Johnson, age 37, Fromo believes that following her kidney transplant, she took a certain amount of the donor's personality. Furthermore, she claims that this has happened twice with each, and with each kidney came a drastic change in her personality. Cheryl's first kidney transplant was in 2001, following 3 years of dialysis. The transplant ultimately failed, but Cheryl stated that immediately following the procedure, she suddenly became stropey and snappy.
Stroopy?
Stroppy? What does stroppy mean?
Don't know.
Hey Siri.
I think you're saying the word wrong, but
How do you spell it?
the word.
Define STROPPY. Bad-tempered and argumentative.
That's a weird word.
So bad-tempered and argumentative and snappy, which was not part of her general nature. In 2008, another kidney became available, and again, Cheryl claimed that the new organ drastically altered her personality. She no longer had a short temper, and her reading habits changed. Cheryl seemed to have a sudden craving for classic literature. Although Cheryl stated that she'd always liked to read, she usually read run-of-the-mill contemporary novels. Following the new kidney, however, she found herself reading books by novelists like Jane Austen and even Fyodor Dostoevsky. William Sheridan turned to drawing as a hobby to take his mind off waiting for a heart donor to become available. Truth be told, he wasn't very good. However, one of the first things he noticed following his surgery in 2006 was that all of a sudden his talent for art had seemingly improved tenfold.
Oh.
After...
That's cool.
It is cool.
So that's not a personality, that's a talent.
That's a talent. After, well, like the girl with the woodworking. What were you going to say?
What's a trait?
A trait or a talent.
Mr. D&D.
It turns on the of the connotation of each word, but technically it could be either. I think it's going to be a local colloquialism.
Okay. A local colloquialism?
Yeah. I like making up my
After
own words.
agreeing to meet the family of the man who had donated the heart, originally as part of a campaign to raise awareness of the need for donors, he discovered that the man, 24-year-old Keith Neville, had been a very enthusiastic artist, and he was very good too. In addition to the art skills, William felt he'd generally become more caring and loving, which he attributed to Keith. His case is just one of several that have been studied by Professor Gary Schwartz of the University of Arizona. According to him, more and more evidence is being found that strongly suggests that organs retain cellular memories and that every organ in the body appears to do so.
What's wrong, sir?
I want another cookie, but I shouldn't have one.
Then sit down.
Correct.
But I really want one.
I had to give my last one to your dad because he needs them more than I do.
I gotta keep feeding that watermelon that grew in my belly when I ate those seeds. Hardworking business executive Bill Wohl was not one for the outdoors. He preferred to roam the concrete jungle of the city as opposed to adventuring in the wilderness. This one was actually in the podcast originally, but I had to cut it for time. That was the case until 2000, when he suffered a near-fatal heart attack. Fortunately for Bill, he received a transplant which ultimately saved his life. He noticed nothing unusual at first, until one day a song came on the radio that reduced him to tears for no reason he could think of. He hadn't heard the song before, and had no idea who it was. He found out that the artist was British vocalist Sadie? Maybe Sadie? I don't know. How's that? As his health improved following his transplant, he began to have the urge to be outdoors more and more. He engaged in increasingly challenging activities ranging from cycling to kayaking, something he had no interest in before. Perhaps he was simply enjoying a new lease of and appreciation for life in general. However, when he got the chance to meet the family of his donor, Bill discovered that the donor was in fact a Hollywood stuntman named Michael Brady. Knowing this information, Bill asked Michael's family if he had a liking for the singer Sadie. They said that Sadie was one of Michael's favorite singers. Bill, now suspecting he had more of Michael in him than just his heart, described the moment as really, really freaky. French actress Charlotte Valandre had already overcome the numerous hurdles that life had thrown at her by the time she required a heart transplant in 2003. In 1985, at only 17 years old and with a very promising career in front of her, she was informed that she was HIV positive. 4 years later, in 1989, she finally confided in someone about her condition, and suddenly her promising career was anything but. In a book she released about her life entitled Love in the Blood, she stated that she believed she had caught the fatal disease from a French rock star, but didn't name him. In the same book, she also wrote about her heart transplant and the effects she believed it had on her in the following months. She stated that she began to have a recurring nightmare of being in a car crash in which she was blinded by oncoming headlights in the rain. She also stated that her taste had completely changed. She now had a liking for wine, whereas she had never enjoyed it before. On a trip to India, she felt an intense feeling of deja vu everywhere she went, and even recalled details of sites that she hadn't been to before. Although her doctors assured her that these were normal experiences for someone who had just undergone the procedure that she had, she insisted in her book that she believed these new feelings and memories were those of her donor.
I find it interesting that the doctors said, "Oh, that's common. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's what I'm worried about, is that it's happening.
Before you continue, just want to say, earlier y'all were talking about somebody, I don't remember who went to his office and had a bunch of cups full of glitter and stuff taped. Trevor picked up one.
Craig Rochelle.
Yeah. I got out of the toilet and opened up TikTok, and that was the first video that popped up. So I went...
You know what's interesting about that is I watched the video, and then I'm in the car, and I told Mama about the video, and then she opened TikTok, and it was the first video on her phone.
Yeah.
And then we told you about it, and then you opened up TikTok, and it was the first video on your phone.
TikTok's always listening. Don't worry about it.
It's like this, isn't everything?
They're like Facebook, only younger and
Chinese.
more inappropriate. Suffering from small vessel disease, Sean Bird was facing the possibility that he would die within 5 years, maybe less. As his condition worsened, his skin began to take on a gray appearance, and his heart was functioning at only 20%. A healthy heart would function around 60 to 70%. I don't know if I'd call a healthy heart at 60 to 70%. I still don't think I'd get to tell like healthy.
Well, no one's heart, pretty much no one's heart runs at 100% all the time. It doesn't have to. Which leads us to believe that at some point we were much different than we are currently, because why was there an organ evolutionarily or createdly that doesn't run correctly?
Well, if the oxygen was thicker, it'd have to.
Just saying.
Okay.
Side note.
Then out of the blue, and literally in the middle of the night, he was called to the hospital. A donor had been found. The following day, he had a new heart and a new lease of life. Sean was aware that people had experienced strange personality changes and sometimes developed sudden skills that were attributed to their donors. Therefore, he wasn't overly surprised when he suddenly had a constant desire to be cooking in the kitchen. He was suddenly quite an accomplished chef as well, something that he simply wasn't prior to his operation, nor did he have any desire to be. Sean states that he not only does he feel a sense of gratitude to his donor and their family, but he wouldn't be surprised if he shares his newfound love of cooking with them too. Here's the last one. This one comes from New South Wales, Australia, and there's something in here called burger rings, but I think they may be akin to
It looks.
Onion rings.
It looks like onion rings.
Yeah, it does.
David Waters, age 24, was suffering from stiffening of his heart ventricles and had only months to live when he finally received a new heart in 2006. It came courtesy of 17-year-old Caden Delaney, who had been left on life support following a car accident. He didn't recover, and in accordance with his wishes, his parents, Greg and Shelley Delaney, gave permission for his organs to be donated. Greg and Shelley spent the following 2 years trying to make contact. I'm thinking he looked up burger rings. To make contact with the people who had received his organs.
When you're done.
When they finally managed to speak with David, they discovered quite an interesting development. For no reason that David could understand, since the operation that saved his life, he had developed an intense liking for the corn-based snack, burger rings. He told Caden's parents that it was the only thing he wanted after his surgery. His parents informed him that their son had in fact loved burger rings, which were one of his favorite snacks. David believes he gained this particular liking up from Caden, as he didn't have any desire to eat them before the transplant. Alright, burger rings. Burger rings are a type of onion ring-like, corn-based, burger-flavored Australian snack food distributed by the Smith's Snack Food Company, which is in turn owned by PepsiCo. Burger-flavored, ring-like, corn-based.
I read it. It was like burger flavor. I was like, maybe it's you take the beef and you roll it,
They look like.
and then you drop it. Like that would make. Got cheese in it.
Yeah.
Like it's a burger. Like it would make sense.
Nah, they probably soaked the corn in tallow. Beef
Burger.
tallow.
Flavored.
Yeah, that's weird.
Alright, let's jump into the Comments. I haven't pre-read these, so be prepared.
Let's not read all the comments.
Don't forget about Homer when he received snake's hair as a transplant. The results were tragic and hilarious.
Like I said, let's not
You're
read the
talking about Homer
comments.
Simpson?
Yes, let's not read the comments. It's the internet.
Ever since my transplant surgery, I've had a strange desire to leave smart comments on the internet. Okay. Somebody started talking about worms. If you cut them up, they all know to go towards the light. Hey, this person thought the coincidences on number 8 was a little too coincidental too. About the guys that shot themselves in the throat.
With the wife.
Yeah.
That was suspicious. We need to hang him.
Whoa, her? He's already dead.
Lyncher!
Have you ever played the Town of Salem game? I'm gonna take that as a no.
I've been playing it too much.
Who are you talking about? Who?
Anyone?
No.
Everyone.
I played it a little, but I was like,
It's quite
We've
engrossing.
been playing too much.
The reason
He's been playing too much.
the reason I was felt it was
Stu
very
played more than me.
is since it's online, you have to wait on everyone, and that just irritated me to no end.
Well, there's a timer.
There's a timer.
In the end of the
It's the
time.
same thing with Hearthstone. Like at a certain point, you're like, and I get bored. I'm too ADD to.
Alright.
I have
What
a
is-
phone in front of me, and when waiting, I do stuff.
You look at Proverbs 27:19. I'm sure the words will come out
That's what she said.
if I give them sufficient leverage.
Proverbs. What chapter?
27,
27,
19.
19.
No, you read it.
Jeremy shared the stream.
Huh?
Jeremy
Jeremy Caverly?
I don't know. Didn't say what.
From Caverly Ministries. He shares the stream pretty much every week. He's quite the faithful sharer. Thank you, Jeremy.
Proverbs 27:19. As water reflects the face, so the heart reflects the person.
Right, so the heart reflects the person, and we just read a whole bunch of instances where the heart literally reflected the person. And when they took the heart and put it in somebody else, the reflection went with it. Right? That's crazy talk.
You're crazy talk.
I think what I liked most about this whole podcast was the breakthroughs they've made in data storage using DNA. That just blew my mind.
That's interesting.
It's kind of like the quantum computing that they're working on right now. It's so fascinating. To work
Quantum
on.
computing doesn't blow my mind. Quantum computing breaks my mind. Yeah, we're going to take data and we're going to store it in another dimension, and then we're going to go into that dimension and recall your data and bring it back. And oh yeah, by the way, there's other dimensions to store the data in. What'd you just say?
It's not that bad.
Baby's stuck.
Reset.
It didn't work. Do it again.
The DNA thing, though,
It just took a second.
It takes a bit to reboot.
is quite interesting. That the 1 gram of DNA, and by gram of DNA, we're talking like you can fit several grams on the tip of my pen, at least, of DNA, holds 215 petabytes
I always hate that term.
of data. Because of file?
No, just I hate petabyte.
Petabytes.
It's just weird.
He's like, not because of the general association that people would make towards the sound of peta, but because of...
Just don't like it.
Would you rather 215,000 terabytes?
Well, it's like
215 million?
so I get it. It's a number. It's a number. So numbers, we didn't set the numbers based on computing.
Right.
But it's like, okay, mega, giga, tera,
Peta.
peta.
Yeah.
It's just like they build like oh. Yeah.
He's disappointed by by the term petabyte. So if you took all this and digitized it, how much data would this be?
A lot.
Not even a gig.
Not even
Not
a gig.
even a gig.
Unless we were doing, well, some of the ones that are high, have like pictures and stuff, might be a little, but if you were to store books on a computer that you had obtained from sources other than like Kindle, because they inflate them.
Admitting the use of uTorrent is not illegal.
I didn't admit to using uTorrent. I don't use uTorrent.
Lying on camera is
I don't use
not
uTorrent.
recommended.
uTorrent
He uses something else.
is a program I don't use.
Okay.
I
love that when you go to uTorrent something, it's like, you should be using a VPN. Your IP address right now says you're in Australia. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be using a VPN then, because it looks like I'm good.
So, you could fit like a couple thousand books in like 2 gig.
In 2 gig.
Yeah.
So if you had 215 million gig, you start digitizing animals.
How large is the digital file size of the Library of Congress?
Actually, that's one of the first things they ever tried to store in a gram of DNA. And then when it didn't fill it up, they were like, what is the capacity of a gram of DNA?
Only, which I have 1 terabyte less in my computer. There's only 10 terabytes is the size of the Library of Congress's print collections.
What?
The average book has 300 pages. It's scanned in 600 DPI TIFF and finally compressed, resulting in an estimated size of 8 meg per book.
Also, what
No, I'm asking.
what impressed me was that
Nothing.
the person who first thought of trying to store digital data on DNA was in 1959, when they were still using tape data. They were recording data on tape. Like,
You're recording data on tape.
The massive
How do you record data?
Bingo!
and
Bango!
and Bitcoin. You know when they started thinking of Bitcoin? It was the 60s.
Yep.
They started conceptualizing Bitcoin in the 60s.
Well, what's his name? Lucas
Got a bunch of prophets out there just.
didn't want to do other movies until technology caught up, because he's like, I can't, the scenes I have in my head I can't even write about or explain until it gets
Too bad he
closer.
got bored of waiting.
Lucas Films, if I come out.
Sorry.
Oh,
Those first 3 movies would have been way better if he just waited another decade.
yeah.
Why do you hate Star Wars?
He's like, technology is here! And we're like, really?
It would have been better had he not succumbed to the pressure of studios.
Right.
That's what actually killed those movies, not anything he did. He turned over too much of his power.
Well, they all do that. He did that. Stan Lee did that. Paul the Apostle did that.
It's always the next guy.
It's always the next guy. Buddha never said to worship Buddha, but the next guy did.
Charles Darwin never said we came from monkeys.
Nope.
But
Right.
the next guy did.
The next guy did.
And Darwin gets blamed for it.
Darwin gets blamed for it. It's his theory, and yet he was an avid believer in creation. He just thought that animals and humans could evolve from what they were created as to because God was that cool. Which is going to freak people out when some of these staunch Christians show up and Darwin's, chilling in heaven and with that big old beard of his. His angelic forms will have beards.
Snapshot
Well,
of their face.
Yes.
Beards and
I can't can't promise that.
Beards and fat bellies.
That's not
Birds and
that's,
feathers.
that's not in the original design.
It's not in the original. What do you know? How do you know Adam didn't have a big belly?
Because if Adam was made in the image of God,
Yeah, God's got a big belly.
I mean, you can hold the whole world in his hand.
And then he's got to store that somewhere.
Inside's
You got to put
not
it.
correlate to belly
You got to
size.
put it in his pouch. And then when he pushes his pouch, his belly's
Got the
all
kangaroo
fucked
now?
up.
you want to live here with
God's the kangaroo chicken.
Really?
Kangaroo chicken.
Alright,
What?
that's derailed.
You got more notes over
I have
there.
no more notes. I've marked all my notes
I
off.
see
you
more
haven't.
lines
Look.
and notices.
One
This one
says
says
DNA.
DNA.
So what did you guys decide? What did you decide the first one that I had started to mark out said?
I said that looks like
Nothing
ether,
intelligible.
not something things, but I know it's completely wrong. It's your chicken scratch over there.
So this was the one about from the last podcast.
Okay.
You know, the thought, you know, when the whole rethinking and lusting and you know, once you've done something, a thought can pop into your head. And it's not a big deal. Dwelling on
Right.
it and going back to it over and over again.
Not taking it captive.
Yeah,
and
not taking
making
captive.
it slave
That's
to the
the
work.
key. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, you've had a bad thought. You're a terrible human."
No,
And it's like, no.
I was
If
already
you-
a terrible human.
If you
The
kill
thoughts-
it, yeah, if you kill it, that's, you know, it's dwelling on it and making it.
You okay? Don't.
All right.
He really marked up my head.
Yes. And then the others were just
I
things you
tried.
said
What did I say?
Didn't make it.
about the DNA. Like I would write it. It was really funny because I've read the podcast previously to listen to it because you share them with me.
Mm.
And so I'd read it a couple days ago, a couple weeks ago. No big deal.
A couple weeks ago when you didn't know what your password was and couldn't get into your account.
I said at some point. I don't remember the
I
point.
see.
And so it was funny because you would start to say something and be like, "Oh yeah, DNA records all, including da 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 da," and then you'd be like, "So that what that means is da da da," and I'm like, I really should probably stop reading these before I take notes the first time. Because I'm like, okay, was this an independent thought, or was this remembering?
Nope, this
what I
was
had
fed
read?
from memory.
You know, like, and then the next one was rewrite your DNA through your renewal of your mind, and then you went to that. So it was like, all right, never mind. And then,
Just because we said it in the podcast doesn't mean we can't re-say it here, though.
yeah, I'm just saying, it was funny the way it got written down.
Oh, okay. Well, you marking stuff out?
The last one I don't like any actually.
What was the one?
He said he didn't like it.
Doesn't matter.
That means he doesn't want to share.
Well, you know, like me and Pastor said today about you stepping out of that comfort zone.
This has nothing to do with my comfort
I know,
zone.
I'm
This
just
has everything to
messing
do
with
with. It's not.
Valid.
It's not valid. The lesser known validity argument. What does it say?
I can't hear you, Mrs. Mumbles. I'm sorry.
The sentence
You're not
actually doesn't
married?
make sense.
Okay.
I can read the sentence. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, please read the sentence.
Mid-con was so much.
That's right. Midcon was so much.
So I have no idea what that sentence was supposed
You don't
to
even know what it meant?
No, because I wrote it and it doesn't. I'm reading it.
It's like the mail kit.
No.
I can read it. I
I don't think he
can't.
understood what they said.
Midcon was so much. Midcon.
I know what you were just
Sarah
saying.
did not learn how to whisper.
Mid
from you.
conversation was so much.
I have no idea.
Oh.
No idea where it came from. That's why I'm like, it's not valid. It's not. I have no idea what I wrote. Like I have no idea what I was trying to say with that sentence. Because I write in shorthand, but that one didn't come across right.
Okay. So, DNA.
Poop.
Stop making chocolate.
Is DNA in poop?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would, yeah. You can tell what poop, what
Yeah.
animal
You can
the poop came from
You
with
can
the
analyze
DNA
DNA
test.
from poop.
So there's
So your body literally just throws out your DNA everywhere.
Okay, so in your cells, there's what's called haplomarkers, And when you have a cell, so on the outside of the cell is DNA information that comes from your mother on every cell of your body, right? And so if you want to get DNA results that are just from the mother, that's the outside of the cell. And then there's the cell with the generic DNA just past that layer. And then in the very core of each cell of your body is the haplo-DNA information from your father. And so they're actually separated. And when we talk about sin nature, when we talk about, oh yeah, well, we're born sinners because Adam sinned and yada yada. So scientifically, medically, what we're saying is that the sin nature is passed down through the father's DNA. Right? So then why is it important that Jesus was born to a virgin? Because the questions come up over the last decade. Why is that important? Why would it matter? And the Bible doesn't say.
The male is where the sin nature is. The male is where the
sin.
Yeah.
The male's DNA is what communicates sin nature. Yeah. So for Jesus to be born without a sin nature, for him to be the spotless lamb, to be able to fulfill the law and be the sacrifice, he had to be born without a sin nature. Therefore, he had to have no father. It had to be a virgin birth for him to actually fulfill the law and to do what he did.
But why is it man? Eve's the one that took that apple from the tree.
We're the one who didn't teach her correctly. We were given the commandment.
Or it's just how it was made. He made it that way, and okay, well, I guess that's right.
We were the ones given the commandment to not eat it. But what Eve said is, I'm not supposed to touch that tree.
Meaning,
So-
Adam didn't give her the right information.
Adam didn't relay God's information. So in Eve saying, I'm not supposed to touch that tree, God went, he didn't do his job.
She's innocent. She was lied to by Adam.
Now, she still broke the law when she bit it, so she still...
However, if she had then handed the apple to Adam, which the scripture says was standing right there next to her, if he'd gone, "No, girl, you're tripping," and thrown the apple on the ground, it would have all been erased. It would have just been she now needs the answer to him.
So the crazy thing is me and my wife, we have an interesting relationship.
Oh, lousy.
If Tina went to grab something and put it in her mouth that she's not supposed to, I would not stand there. Sometimes I don't stand there when she's trying to put things in her mouth she is supposed to. Food things. Sorry.
I was like, knowing you, I'm not sure what you meant by that.
I was waiting for the specifications.
Like, if she starts eating, I'll be like, no, don't eat that. Are you sure you should eat that? Should you drink that drink?
Now, you know you're going to regret that later. You told me you didn't want to eat no more candy bars.
Yeah, I'm gonna, before she puts it in her mouth. Not, well, she gave it to me.
But you know Adam's standing there, and she's having this conversation with the serpent, and she's about to eat the apple, and he's like, this might be like the time I told you not to, you can call me mansplaining it again. I don't want to have this argument.
Or
Now,
he was going, oh, that sounds like a good argument. Let's see how she does it, and then maybe I'll do it after her.
That's probably accurate. You're accurate.
Whatever reason,
We should have stopped you.
But you didn't.
The onus of responsibility was on Adam because he's the one that was given the commandment from God. And then he didn't correctly communicate that commandment to Eve. So when she bit the apple, nothing. There was no result. There was no penalty because she didn't have the right information. She'd been lied to. Either he thought he was doing her a favor or he was just, I don't know.
He was mansplaining.
He messed up.
He said, "Don't eat it.
Don't, you know what? Don't even touch it. Don't even touch it. Or you're gonna die." And she was like,
And this was Satan.
"Yes, sir."
You ain't gonna die if you touch it.
Satan didn't even have to lie in that scenario.
No. He bit the truth a smidge and used some interesting Hebrew words, but you know, not really Hebrew then, but it was translated Hebrew.
Right. Moses wrote it down in Hebrew.
Yeah. I doubt he was speaking Hebrew. I doubt that was the default language at the moment.
Well, it certainly wasn't called Hebrew.
It was just
called
common.
the slaves' language.
It was just common.
No, it was actually called the slaves' language.
Just common.
Good.
So when you think about the language spoken before God confused language,
Okay. The
Alright.
language of the birds.
back in the day, I think of that as common.
You think? Yeah, that's
Really?
common.
That's common.
Yeah.
Like the D&D term of common languages, where
The
you're like,
language of the birds.
what language is this? It's common. It's like, why is that common? It just is. This is what everyone speaks. But why?
Because we haven't built a tower yet.
But common technically is just English.
Because we haven't built a tower and tried to storm the gates of heaven.
God didn't have to go beast on us.
Activate beast mode.
You get about one more before I send you to bed. I'm gonna send you to
I liked
your
it.
room.
It was great.
God was like, don't make me go Super Saiyan on you.
Pastor Bill likes it.
God's hair turns blonde and all the people scatter.
Knives come out of his hand.
What? Knives come out of his hands. Is he that messed up Deadpool from the one Wolverine movie, or is he God? What is this?
Man, I hate that Deadpool. How old does Gregory have to be, by the way? We had this conversation.
Watch what?
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
The new
19.
It is pretty vulgar.
Even then, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I can't stop him. Nobody should be watching that. That's just vulgar for vulgar's sake. I've seen it twice because of my wife. I'm like, yes, sweetheart, I'll watch it with you.
Only twice.
Yeah, only twice.
I've seen it more than that.
The first one and the second one I've seen twice.
Let's just say it like
For the
this.
sake of my wife.
This will tell you everything you need to know about that movie. I own the DVD
You're wearing a Deadpool hat.
of 1 and 2. That doesn't matter. I could just like the comic character.
Yeah.
The comic character is much better than the movies.
But we
Ryan Reynolds does a
own
good
both
job,
movies.
but the comics
I
are
thought
better.
he did a good job as the Green Lantern, but I'm a Green Lantern fan.
He did.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh!
No, wait.
No,
Wait.
At the end of Infinite Crisis, I know you guys are way behind, but at the end of Infinite Crisis, this asteroid falls on the ground in front of Diggle. You know Diggle who works with Green Arrow?
Yeah.
Right? In front of him, and he goes over and picks it up, and there's this little iron box, and he opens it, and this green light shines on his face. And in one of the after scenes from Infinite Crisis, he's seen wearing a Green Lantern ring.
John Jones.
No,
Not John Jones. The first black
his name
dude.
is John, but yeah.
So Diggle's gonna be.
So Diggle's gonna become Green Lantern,
Lantern.
yeah, in the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
Nice.
So excited.
So,
That's gonna be good.
Yeah.
the thing about the Green Arrow with Green Arrow, he did a good job.
Green Arrow,
No,
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. He did a
He
good
did
job.
a great job.
The problem,
Yeah.
was the
Parallax
CGI
was
suit.
the problem.
The
No, even the CGI suit was believable with the concept of what Green Lantern is. The CGI suit was believable, but Parallax, no, they went way off the reins with Parallax. That was,
You're still alive.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just a friendly reminder.
Yeah.
As long as I keep this one from cursing, we're good.
Cute.
That's not gonna happen.
Is it okay if I use this bathroom?
Why?
No.
Your mama's in there.
Mom is in the other one.
Oh,
Okay,
I
then go
have
ahead.
to go real bad.
and this guy said the modern English colloquialism for caca 3 times when we were recording the Leap Day special.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you
Just
said
the
that.
way you looked at her and you like nodded your head and like all matter of factly, loud enough for the camera to hear you. You were like, stow high in transit.
George Belden went in to tell everyone what it actually means.
Yeah, we talked about the history of that word. Actually, that part may have gotten cut off. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and
You were
look.
right.
I told you.
What did you tell
That's
her?
why I didn't put
Him.
them all out. Because that was only half the cookies.
Oh, that's only half the
But I
cookies?
knew no one was going to eat the oatmeal raisins, so I only
Oh,
put half
I
of
had
everything
2 of
out
the
there.
oatmeal raisins.
Well,
I like oatmeal raisins. It's the only thing
You
left.
can take them home.
Yeah, I can't.
I will. I'll take them home. I like oatmeal raisins.
I like.
I'll be surprised if I have any oatmeal raisins left tomorrow morning.
That's what I was thinking.
You'll eat them all.
Probably, unless she stops me, which she won't.
What are you?
She'll be like, "Oh, you having a snack? I have an excuse to have a snack too."
See that out of the corner of my eye, and it just looked really weird.
Okay, so announcements.
Shrimp
Yeah, that's right. We do announcements at the end, not at the beginning, because
Why?
we're like that. Because we're like that. I just
we're
said.
weird.
All right, so June 6th, clear your calendar. Come out and hang out with us at Pride. If you weren't already gonna come to Pride, then don't. But if you were already gonna come to Pride, then come find us and hang out with us.
Oh, cool.
We love you. We want to protect you. Pride is all about freedom and comfortable in your skin, and some of those people come in nothing but their skin. So if
Some of them cover
There's
themselves in
tape.
glitter.
barely
Skin and tape and glitter.
skin and band-aids
And tape.
and tape and glitter. So if that's going to cause you to stumble, then don't come to Pride. And that's not going to cause you to stumble. And you want to come love on some people with us that need God's love, that have the highest suicide rate of any demographic in the United States, because that's honestly what we're talking about here. And come on out and help us love on some people. And we'd like to meet you face to face. I had some other announcements, something about a
What was the
special
date, June
episode.
what?
June 5th, 6th, June 6th.
So I don't need to take like the 7th off.
Saturday, June 6th. Pride at the it's called the Dallas Music Festival is what it's called. Only I don't think the musical acts have gotten to sing either year that we've gone because they've gotten rained out. Yeah.
They started that first year.
They started the second year too, but then they got rained out.
And the first year, was it in June?
No, it was in September.
Yeah.
Where was it the second year?
June.
June. And it got rained out.
And both times they got rained out. This year we have two inside booths. We have a teen booth and we have an adult booth, or general as they call it. Both inside. And hopefully we have enough people to run two booths. Our numbers are dwindling. But that's okay because we're re-gearing for online church. Church online. See, you got me saying online. Somebody got me saying online church.
Blame
We're
him.
re-gearing for church online where...
You wrote it online, George.
I wrote church online. Church online. So wherever you're watching right now, you see the C crosses the O next to cross?
But the
See?
online is first,
Church-
so you
Online
would
But
know
they're-
to read church
The
first.
church is closer.
No.
The
No.
online is in the
You
background.
wouldn't know to read
No.
church first.
Yeah,
No.
it says online church.
Yeah, it says online church.
You gotta flip
I'm
flop
going
it.
to take my pen
Okay.
and stab you.
She cursed again on the stream.
Wow! Tina! Okay.
It's 2 more months.
Someone
You gotta go
so
one
it's
design
a
the
bad
logo?
example on her.
That's annoying.
I told you I had a hard time seeing the cross anyway. Maybe you can make it more prominent if you did the other way.
Okay. So the other announcement is that this Friday evening, or rather this Saturday morning at 12 midnight, the midnight of Friday that becomes Saturday. I have a hard time describing what that time is. At the start of the Witches Hour on Saturday, we're gonna release a special leap date. Well, that's the best reference that comes to mind that I try not to say every time.
So 12:01 a.m. on Saturday.
No, that's a minute later.
So it's 12 p.m. Friday.
There is no. That would be the
Saturday.
middle of the day
No.
on Friday.
My bad.
That would be
12 a.m.
Saturday, which then automatically makes you think it's Sunday morning, but it's not. It's Friday night.
First thing
Saturday morning.
in the middle of the night.
Okay,
0.000000000000001
on Saturday morning. That's like down to the millisecond. Not even milli. That's a
I'm
nanosecond.
aware. That's why I said it the way I said
Right.
it.
We're going to be releasing a special Leap Day 2020 episode, which Pastor Nooms and I labored over recording yesterday. It was so labor intensive. It was so hard. We sat here and had to hold these chairs down and talked. And I was so tired afterwards. And then I had to go drive Uber and Lyft. And I was feeling so awful last night. I didn't even kiss my kids when I got home. I just went to bed.
You know what else you didn't do when you got home? Usually you go straight to the bathroom and spend like 30 minutes in
I
the
didn't
bathroom.
even go to the bathroom. I didn't take my antidepressant pills. I didn't take my CBD oil. I did nothing. I was just like, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm surprised I even took my clothes off. I just...
Really, I stayed up till 1 a.m. playing video games with Matt.
You're used to that. You're used to delivering pizzas on Saturday nights. Okay, we have a special episode coming out, Leap Day 2020 episode, because This Saturday is Leap Day, and every 4 years,
7.
for 4 years,
7.
there's an extra day in the year because a year is 365 and a quarter days long.
7. It's actually not a quarter years long. Quarter day. It's actually a little more. And it's always changing because
It's
of
like
things.
0.26.
So
something.
because of that, it's not a quarter. So we are constantly losing time to the calendar because people are stupid. Anyway, continue.
Well, you know, they've been using this calendar for almost 2,000 years. So, do you expect them almost 2,000 years ago to be able to keep
Haven't they
track
been
of
using it for
atomic time?
2020 years.
Right. So eventually, we're just gonna go to a 13.
Snap!
No.
Not until the year 2300 will we've been using this calendar for 2,000 years.
They went back every day and stuff.
Which is why the calendar's actually off. Jesus was actually born in 8 BC, not in the year 0. Which throws everyone off because when they made the new calendar, they were
Now
like,
you're just not.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Jesus was born in 8 BC.
We didn't learn it in school growing up because we went to schools that had tried to control you through learning things incorrectly.
I bet you also had manger scenes that had wise men in it too, didn't you?
And any animal
Actually,
you thought
at
that
our
had
home, my father was very strict
Not
about
the ones in
that.
my house.
Well,
But Dad was real strict. Like, it was really funny.
We always
Like,
had to put them traveling.
so like he would on the day on Christmas,
You're making me mad.
we had this big table.
Don't
And,
no,
hey,
sir.
she already said no multiple times. Do
Already
not
said
back
no.
talk
Give him a
about
little
it.
chunk.
Everybody
Do
said
not
no, and
back-
I've said no
No.
like 5 times.
So Dad had a table. He said the nativity
That's
scene. on
into
it.
it again.
He set the nativity scene on the
He was
table.
already begging me for
And
it
then-
before he never had any.
Across the room, he put the wise men on a random other table,
Nice.
and then slowly moved them until Three Kings
I
Day.
like your dad so much.
And then Three Kings Day, they would magically be there because that's
Yeah.
when they actually showed up.
I like that. That's
Except 2 years later.
That was way before Elf on the Shelf.
I like that better. Traveling wise.
Yeah, we had traveling wise men. They didn't tattle on you; they just brought you gold.
And frankincense,
And Myrrh.
which is just creepy.
Murr.
Myrrh.
Here's some death ointment.
Myrrh.
You're gonna need that eventually.
Merca.
Your face.
Okay, so that's all we have for tonight. I think that's everything, right?
I think that's everything. The Leap Day special is a little longer than normal, but it's a special day,
You
so
know,
it's
a couple
okay.
minutes.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Do not. This is my paper. That's important. Please stop.
That's like 8 times longer than a normal Berean Manifesto episode, so
Stop getting water.
I'm running out of books and I can't get them for free anymore. So
where were you getting them for free? Oh, never
he's
mind.
talking about the 5-finger discount he got from GTI. Did I say it right?
you did.
I said it right. That's the
After
first time
I
since
left.
you've worked there that I've said it right. How many years you been working there?
I worked there for almost 4.
4 years, and I just now got it right. Hey, James, you want to reach up there and hit that red
I mean,
button?
it wasn't a 5-finger discount.
He used the paper for work.